there is something to say about just like surrounding yourself with those kinds of people who that's the lifestyle they live and have always lived and want to live. But like, that's just not me. I don't know. I love so many things. I have like hobbies that I just have totally put on the back burner for the last few years. And if you're a mom, you can probably relate to that as well. It's like we put everyone's needs before our own. I'm your host, Maggie Schneider, and welcome to the Slow Living Era podcast. This is a podcast for women navigating big life changes, moving, motherhood, and building a life that actually feels good to live without the hustle. Real life, slower living, and figuring it out as we go. All right, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Maggie. Thank you so much for being here. And this is the first episode of the podcast. It's a little bit weird to be talking to a computer. I'm usually on the computer on Zoom calls, not really speaking to air and not getting that feedback. So thank you for being here again. This episode is really going to be telling you guys a little bit about me, my story, how I got to this place of moving from Maryland to Florida across the country, kind of uprooting our family with 3 kids and my husband as well, and just starting over, really. We are moving to Florida in a little over a month as I'm recording this. So we are saying goodbye to the home we've lived in for the last 5 years, the community we've built here in Maryland. I grew up here. I will go into more details about our story getting there, like I said. But yeah, a little bit about me. So I am a mom of 3, as I said. My kids are 6, 4, and almost 2. I run a business from home, Hilltop Help, which is a marketing agency. And I also still work as a nurse. I've been a nurse for over 10 years now, graduated the end of 2015. So I still work a few shifts a month. That is kind of a newer development. Just wanted to keep my license active. So shout out to all the healthcare workers out there because you guys work super hard, especially the ones that work full time, overnight shifts, weekends, all the things. I have a very soft nursing job, if you will, which I'm grateful for. And it's nice to like get out of the house and keep my, skills active and feel like a human being leaving the house. So that's nice. So yeah, our childcare situation is a little unique, I guess. My husband and I, like I said, I work from home running my business. My husband works from home. Recently, I think last week was the last week of our restaurant. So that just closed and my husband was running that. And then he also runs a logistics delivery service business through Amazon with his dad. So he does that remotely. Every once in a while, he'll go up there to help out. But yeah, for the most part, we work from home. And like I said, our childcare situation, my 2 older kids are in preschool. And then my younger son, who's almost 2, has been home with us for the last 2 years all the time. So we pretty much have been in a juggling act for the last 6 years, really, because all of my kids, we didn't put them into preschool or childcare or anything like that until they were 2 or even 2.5. It's just how we roll. I don't know. Somehow we made it work with working from home. My husband and I kind of alternate days of when we work and when we take care of the baby at home. I don't know. It works for us. If you have kind of a non-traditional childcare setup like that, you probably know that it is a balancing act and it doesn't always work out perfectly, but it's definitely my preference. I just love having my kids home with me, especially those baby years. They're just so much fun. And we just literally spend our days walking around the neighborhood or going to different parks or meeting up with friends for play dates. It's chill. It's great. I love it. So yeah, let's talk about what brought us to moving from Maryland to Florida. So like I said, we have lived in Maryland our whole life. My husband and I met at the University of Maryland the very first day of school. That's a nice story. I'll share another time maybe. But yeah, we never left after graduation. We both moved in with our respective families and then eventually moved in together. We never even really did the city living life like a lot of people in Maryland that either live in downtown DC or in Baltimore. We never really did that. We lived, the closest we did was we lived in Bethesda, which is like a suburb of DC. It has a little bit of a city vibe, but not really. So yeah, we are just kind of been suburbanites for, most of our relationship. And yeah, we always had this pull to move somewhere sunnier. We both are not in love with the winter. And especially as we started having kids and spending those winters inside with kids. And I know everyone says, just bundle them up, take them outside, 30 minutes, but 30 minutes is the tiniest chunk of your day, especially when your kids are home with you, a majority of the time, like ours were for those first 2 years of their lives. It's a lot. It's exhausting. Everyone is on edge. Everyone is fighting with each other. Like there's just all this built up energy for myself included. Even in the winter, I go on a 30-minute walk. That is like my sanity saver, but still it's not enough. And winters in Maryland, especially this past winter, as I'm recording this, it was brutal. We had a huge snowstorm at the end of January, and the snow was on the ground for a good 6 weeks, and not just snow, like ice. I know in the Midwest, they have like beautiful snow. I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but in Maryland, it just turns to like slush and then ice is over and then slush again and then ice over it. So it was just a mess. It was so hard to go outside. Obviously with kids, we're still helping them like bundle up, put the boots on, put the snow bibs on, the jackets, the hats, the gloves, everything. So it was just like a 20-minute process to get out the door. And then we spend maybe 30 minutes outside before their hands are numb and we go back inside. And then it's like, okay, what do we do with the rest of our day, right? So the weather was definitely the biggest reason for wanting to move to Florida. But as I sit back and think about it more, I also just think that the slower pace of living down south in general is going to be better for us. Like we both started businesses, 3-4 years ago, both of us. And we were like, we started these businesses to have freedom and to have flexibility in like how we travel, how we live, how we raise our kids. And yet we are still like falling into the trap of like what everyone views as normal in our society today, especially in Maryland, like living outside of DC. It's like this hustle culture of like, you work your 9 to 5, you put your kids in full-time daycare, you see them from maybe 6 to 8 p.m. at night. And then, you do it all over again the next day. And that's just, the more we started talking about it, my husband and I, the more we realized like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? It just doesn't make any sense. And then just from my own perspective is I say I'm a recovering type A person. I always have a list, right, of things to do. I always have something to do, work related. Even if I don't have like client work that I'm doing, I have something on my business that I need to work on. And I just felt like every time I got a break from my kids, like they were at school and my husband had the baby, or, maybe a babysitter came, whatever that looked like, nap time especially, I feel like I had to be productive. So like I would immediately put the baby down for his nap and then go to my computer and be on the computer until the moment he wakes up. And then he wakes up and I go pick up the kids from school. And it's just like, there was no time to relax. And that is my own doing. Like I can't blame living in Maryland on that part of it. There is something to say about just like surrounding yourself with those kinds of people who that's the lifestyle they live and have always lived and want to live. But like, that's just not me. I don't know. I love so many things. I have like hobbies that I just have totally put on the back burner for the last few years. And if you're a mom, you can probably relate to that as well. It's like we put everyone's needs before our own. I'm like organizing the pantry and I'm calling that my downtime. Like that's not fun, right? I want to be like relaxing, enjoying a book, reading. I love art. Like I love crocheting like a little grandma. And I just want to like kind of get back into those things that I love doing other than walking outside for 30 minutes a day. That's just, I haven't had much time to just relax and chill and be outside and just live in the moment. So that's kind of what led us to start seriously considering moving to Florida. If you're in your own relocation era, or honestly just trying to make your home function better with kids, I'm right there with you. I've been gathering all my favorite finds into one place. Everything from moving essentials to home stuff to kid-related things and activities that actually make life easier. I'll link my Amazon storefront in the show notes. When you use my link, I get a small commission at no cost to you, so thank you for supporting my small business. Lately, I've been leaning on anything that makes life feel simpler, and HelloFresh has definitely been one of those things. It just takes dinner off my plate, literally and mentally. You get a special discount when you use my link, so make sure to check the show notes if you want to try it too. So, living in Maryland, like I said, there was nothing that was super miserable about living here, other than the weather, which, that's most of the Northeast probably, most people that live in the Northeast probably feel that way. But like I have a huge village here. I have family. Actually, my dad and a bunch of my step siblings just moved recently in the last couple of years to Tennessee. So that was another kind of trigger that was like, oh, like they moved, maybe I should move. So my brother is really the only immediate family member that I have here in Maryland still. I'm very sad to leave him. And I have cousins and aunts and uncles and things like that that I see somewhat, once or twice a year, nothing crazy. But yeah, lots of friends, all of my college friends pretty much still live, within an hour drive or so to me. I have my best friend from high school lives like a mile down the road, and she has a 2-year-old baby as well. Our kids, my youngest and her oldest are a couple weeks apart. So it's hard. It's hard to leave them. I'm going to get teary-eyed just thinking about it. But it was kind of like a trade-off of like, do we stay here and like keep this village that we have for our family, for our kids, wait until they graduate or wait until we retire, whatever that looks like in, 30, 40 years from now? Or do we just like rip the Band-Aid, take a risk, make a change, and break away? Kelly Clarkson. Okay. And yeah, we just thought, if not now, then when? When are we going to do it? We love being outside. We, like I said, wanted that slower pace, more downtime, like actual downtime where we are just, like I said, living in the moment. I love tennis too, Pilates, like all these things I like will do in spurts, like, when I have a little bit of downtime for like, a session or two. And then it's like, oh, back to work. I got to make money, So leading up to making this decision, this is kind of the quick version of it, and I will probably share a more detailed version in another episode. But what happened was my in-laws bought a place in Florida. It's going to be probably where they retire, but they kind of fell into some money from our grandparents passing, and they were like, yeah, same kind of vibe. Like, we want to get out of Maryland. The weather here stinks. Like, lots of things going on in the economy and all of that. Taxes are skyrocketing in Maryland, all of these things. So they bought a place there that they will eventually retire in. We ended up going kind of again on a whim to visit them for Thanksgiving. And while we were there, they were like, oh, just take a look at some houses. Like, it's just a fun date, You don't have to take it super seriously or anything. And we took them up on that because they were like willing to watch the kids while we did that. And so we went and looked at, I believe it was just one resale home and then a couple different new construction model homes. And when we saw what we could get for a new construction home in Florida compared to what we are paying here in Maryland, we were like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. Like, we're not getting a ton of land with our new house, but we are getting a brand new house, slightly bigger than our current house, more bedrooms, a proper office, the things that we wanted in a house, really. We looked at a few different floor plans, and actually the house that we decided on was not one that we toured while we were down there. Again, I'll talk about that later. But yeah, just looking at that and seeing what our life could look like really just opened our eyes to like, wow, we could actually do this like sooner than we thought. So, in hindsight, I would have planned it out a little bit better where we would like save for a year or two and figure out the logistics of schools and all of that. But we didn't do that. So we are just kind of going with it and hoping for the best. My husband did actually end up going to see a model of the house that we are buying. He went down and saw it at the end of January, actually during that big snowstorm. So I was by myself with 3 kids in a snowstorm. Again, a story for another day. But yeah, I at least felt comfortable that he had seen it and felt like good about it. I'm going to go down in a couple of weeks to go see it. So yeah, it'll be almost ready, not quite fully ready, but at least I'll get like a little vibe of how it is. So as we were deciding to move, we realized like, oh crap, we have to actually sell our house here in Maryland so that we can afford this move. We had thought about renting out our house here because we have such a nice interest rate that is hard to let go. We bought it in the height of COVID and, I think it's like 2.8% or something silly. So we really thought about renting it out, but then ultimately just decided against it because living across the country from your rental property and not knowing who your renters are going to be and how quickly you can rent it out when you're trying to buy a house, it just all felt like a little too much. So we ultimately ended up just putting it on the market. It didn't get a ton of traffic, which was a little scary at first, but within a month we did get an offer. There was some back and forth about it, and then we went under contract. So we're closing next week as I'm recording this, and it's going to be exciting. It's nice because we're going to have a little bit of money left over after putting the down payment on our new Florida house. So I'm excited to have a little bit of a buffer so that I don't need to find a nurse job right away. Obviously, I'm still running my business. My husband will still get his salary from his dad's business. So financially, we're okay there. But it was just a little nerve-wracking of oh my gosh, is it going to sell on time? Are we going to have to make concessions that we don't want to make? Like I said, we did it really quickly, so we didn't have a ton of time to prep the house maybe as well as we should have. We maybe should have got new carpet. We maybe should have done some paint a few places, things like that. But overall, it's a great house, and we knew it would sell. So it all worked out. What really made it real and sealed the deal was we had to send the deposit to our house in Florida. And then once we got the offer on this house in Maryland, it was just all right, we're doing it. There's no turning back now. And yeah, questions definitely started coming in from, I think when we told our family and friends, other than my in-laws, because they were yeah, they're serious. But everyone else, I've telling my dad, telling my brother, telling some of our friends, they were just kind of okay, you guys have been talking about moving to Florida for 10 years. We'll believe it when we see it kind of thing. But yeah, we were serious this time. So there's no going back now. I think there were a lot of questions of why now? You have young kids. Don't you want to be comfortable and where you lived and with your village and all of that? But overall, we're just kind of we're ready. We're ready. This feels right. We know we want a different lifestyle and our kids to grow up with a different lifestyle. I don't like my kids seeing me rush around and be stressed and shipping them off to school and all of that. I really want more peace overall. And not saying that Florida is the magic solution to that, but for us, it just feels one step closer to getting that lifestyle that we want. So let this be your reminder. If you're a working mom, I know how hard you work. If you're a stay-at-home mom, I know how hard you work. If you're a homeschool mom, I know how hard you work. I hope that you are giving yourselves time and grace for yourself, and let this be your permission to do something differently. You don't have to do something the way you've always done it just because you've always done it that way. You can make a change. I'm all about a good pivot. My whole life feels like it's been a big pivot, especially the last, 10 years of switching jobs a million times, starting businesses, having kids. Every time you have a kid, it's a different kind of pivot. So anyway, thanks for being here. I hope this podcast feels like a space where you can just think through that and give yourself permission to, like I said, do something differently. If that's you, hit the follow button, hit subscribe. I'd love to have you as a regular listener to this show, and I will see you in the next episode.